So I'm going to talk about my book, and it's about the employee advantage. Now you're asking, why is this guy talking about employees when, like, maybe the future of employees is over and there is no work for humans left? And I'm not making any predictions on what's happening with jobs. That's this new elective we have at the business school on the future of work that it's all about. But I can make one prediction that I'm pretty certain that it's true, is that every human being will work together with a machine. So like human-machine interaction is going to be the future. That I'm almost certain about. Now, in that human-machine interaction, I think we over-indexed a lot on the technology, on the machine part. We talked a lot about machine. I mean, Sandra talked about what the machine, what those large language models can do, and I think we under-indexed on the other part, which is the human aspect. So that is what my book is basically about. And just to make sure that I'm right, here's a quote from Jeff McMillan. He's the head of firm-wide AI at Morgan Stanley, and I just wrote a case about him. He said, look, the tech is actually the easy part. The hard part is the human side. And that's what this book is all about. As he said, it actually has nothing to do with AI, and then it has everything to do with AI. Because it's all about, like, in this future where humans work with machines, it's super important to be really human or employee-centric. Now, what does that mean? Now, a big analogy in the book, and in general how I think about this, is you can think about this like the employees are actually the new customers. In multiple ways. One is, we saw a rise in customer centricity for a couple of reasons, because there are trends that led to those. There is more innovation, there is more data, preferences change, there is more transparency about the experience, and the same trends are going to hit the labor market. The same trends will actually make the employees more important. The other is, like, we now have tools to think about what does it mean to be customer-centric. And to be customer-centric is like to personalize, to make the experience better, in order to actually charge more money. That's the whole point. And we can now apply those same tools to think about how can we make the employee experience better to create more value for the firm. Now, we're doing a terrible job so far about thinking about employees as the new customers. We looked in research how much do executives talk about customers and how much do they talk about employees. And what you see here is the ratio. So in 2007, it was about 8 times more that executives talk about customer than their employees. And it actually increases further. It goes up to like 14%. If you do text analysis, we talk about our customers as like growth, opportunities, like beautiful stuff. And when we talk about our employees, it's risk, it's cost, it's a pain in the butt. That's kind of, and you, not surprisingly, see it in engagement level. We're doing a really bad job in creating an environment which creates engaged and motivated employees. And I think we have to change that going forward, and technology can actually help. So I want to spend the rest of my talk quickly about, like, how can we think about AI in particular, technology in general, how to humanize work more, how to actually create a more engaging and productive workforce. Now, in order to do that, we need to understand what motivates people at work in the first place. Why do people show up? Why are they engaged? Why are they productive? Why are they innovative? And I think the research is pretty clear. That there are 4 factors that create this. One is purpose, one is autonomy, one is competence, one is relatedness. And let me quickly go through those just to illustrate, and then I double down on one. So the first one, and this is actually what speaks for me compared to my brilliant colleagues, is those Lego movies. I show a lot of Lego movies. I made that Lego movie, actually, so very proud of it. So the first is like what I call shoot for the moon. Having actually a why in the organization that is motivating for everybody, and it has a rocket here and says NASA, because like the famous quote of that NASA employees who said, like, I'm not mopping the floor, I bring a man to the moon. So it like goes through the whole organization, everybody's jazzed for that one goal to have. The second is autonomy or a matter of trust, because that's the flip side. Remote work is part of that, where we think about, like, how do we actually trust our employees, how we empower them to do their best work. And obviously in a time where we need to innovate on a very rapid scale, top-down is not working anymore. The third one is competence. I call it just right task, and I'm motivated by that book, series of book here. So when my son was little, he needed to read 30 minutes a day. You know, that was required by the school. And it was, I can tell you, like it was a daily fight. Every single day. I told them, you know, dude, like just come home, read 30 minutes, you can do whatever you want. Afterwards, you can play FIFA until your eyes are squared. I mean, I don't care. And he didn't read it. I was really struggling until one day he pulled me into a bookstore, the bookstore that he would really like go around it to and he wanted to buy that series of books. So that he was not that clever because he actually said, you know, I'm using my birthday money. I was like, well, I would have bought it. I mean, I actually bought many, many more books of those. So, and why this was the book? Because it was just right for his reading level. It was not a baby book when it was too easy, and it was not like he wanted to read Harry Potter when he was 6. He couldn't understand anything. I mean, it was just too hard. It was just right. Now, that's a very, very human trait. We want to have a task where we can master, where we can learn something, and where we can use our skills optimally. Now, obviously, that book, and he got a lot, you know, Dan Goodman got a lot of money from me, from royalties. Then that became a baby book. So he needed to upgrade, and he did upgrade. He then read Stuart Gibbs' Spy School series, so he read those series. He then stopped reading, but we had a good run. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that because what I now tell my executives that I teach, you know, now that you know that, it's easy. You know, you just find out for every of your employee, what's the just right task, match them to that task, and constantly update. And of course, they look at me as if I have like 3 heads. It's like, you know how hard that is? I mean, I have like, even if you only have 20 employees, that's hard. But I mean, many of you have like many, many more. That's really, really difficult. So let me tell you a little later what to do. Let's just finish. The last one, motivator, is like what psychologists call relatedness, kind of working together works. You know, we all played or were in good teams, sports team or not. And there is something special when it really clicks that can make like the individual, you know, the team better than like the sum of the individuals. Now you know all those motivators. Now you can actually humanize the work, but I now want to think about for all of those, you know, you can use technology to actually strengthen them. Now we don't have time to go through all of them, so let me double click on the one I mentioned, this just right task. Now first of all, we're not doing a great job on just right tasks. If you look at the stats, you know, about 40% of employees claim their number one reason why they quit is because they're stuck. They don't learn anything more. Now, only about a quarter are actually encouraged to learn more, and about 80%, more than 80% report talent hoarding. That means their manager doesn't want them to learn more because that creates the risk that they leave. And obviously, I don't want to leave my best employee. He or she should do whatever they do over and over and over again. The problem is then they leave the organization. So now, how can we use AI to deal with that task that I told you before? Figure out for all employees, what is their just right task, match it to the right task, and update. Now, that sounds a little bit like an AI task. You know, that's what Netflix does. Netflix figures out, you know, Sandra, she really likes, at the moment, probably watches cartoons because of her little boy. So Netflix says, oh, Sandra, before she was watching all those violent horror movies, but now only like cartoons. Let's show her more cartoons. You know, eventually she will then move on from cartoons to like go to nature documentaries, and then Netflix says, oh damn, like Sandra now actually watches nature. Let's show her more nature documentaries. And does it very differently for me. Now, can we use that same approach within firms to create those just right tasks? And we can, and organizations now do that on large scale. So MasterCard, for example, is one that uses those, what is called internal marketplaces. What it does, it's an AI-powered tool where like employees go onto the platform and say like, I want to learn something new. I want to be on a project somewhere else. It matches it then with projects within MasterCard, which is obviously also good for those managers who have those projects. And like, I need people. I don't know I can't hire somebody. So it matches it to those platforms, and then it learns. You know, it will learn that like, I was then on a project in Germany because my HR document doesn't know that I'm actually Swiss and I speak some German. Actually pretty good. I mean, Swiss German. Anyway, so it then will know, it will learn, oh, now you actually, the platform will learn, I'm doing better, you know, I was on that platform. It can now show me better and better of those matches going forward. By doing so, it will personalize the experience. While I was hired in the same position than Sandra was, you know, because I know those paths, it will be a very personalized experience that has like constantly updates to just right task. MasterCard started this in the pandemic, originally with like an Excel spreadsheet, and now moved on to this AI-powered tool. But in a couple of weeks, I think they will reveal it in big time. They unlocked, you know, their platform is called Unlocked, 1 million project hours. Now we can calculate how much money there is. You know, it's a huge, huge return on investment for that firm. When I talked to the CHRO of MasterCard, Michael Fakar, you know, that this internal marketplace, you know, basically changes everything in the organization. How we think about workforce planning, you know, democratizing, upskilling, and so on and so forth. So that's just one way where you can kind of use customer insights or tools, personalization here, for your employees. You can go much, much further. Give you another example. Amazon, a very, very customer-centric organization. When Bezos got asked, you know, what's so great about your customer? He says, you know what is so great about this? They're always dissatisfied. Even when they think they're happy, they're kind of unhappy. What he means is like, we can always improve. We can always learn. Once we learn what that experience is of the customer, we can give an even better customer experience. Now, let's exchange customer with employees. Very few people, leaders would say, what is great about our employees, they're always dissatisfied, even when they're happy. But that's the same logic. We can actually improve now on the experience of our employees, and by doing so, having a much more engaged workforce that is also able to like adapt and take over those new technologies. So let me wrap up. So, you know, I think like this employee-centric future work really takes those human motivation at heart. But in order to do that, we actually need to understand what motivates people. So I think there are those 4 motivators. Then it uses technology to humanize the work even more in order to augment and support kind of what humans are actually doing to make them more valuable. And I think as a result, it will gain this employee advantage. And if you're not sick of Lego movies yet, you can watch many more in my newsletter that I send out. So, and so thank you so much for your attention.